Welcome back to Engineering Projects in Community Service. Myself Ramu Kandregula, Assistant Professor in the Department of SEER, VIIT. Today we are going to talk about design thinking. Before proceeding with the lecture, let's read the quote by Steve Jobs. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. Let's start with lecture 3, that is Design Thinking 1. In today's lecture, we are going to learn about what is design thinking, what are the perfect conditions for innovations. We will learn about major design thinking steps, that is empathize, define, ideate, prototype and test. And in the end of the lecture, we are going to learn how a novice engineer can become an expert design engineer. The major activities of engineering are design, development, research, testing, analysis, production, sales, technical support, and many other activities. Out of which, design plays a crucial role. Now we will learn more about design. So design have many definitions. One says design is an art, other says design as a problem solving, or design is an activity all about applying scientific knowledge. The most profound definition is design is a goal directed problem solving activity that initiates change in human made things and involves optimizing parameters and balancing the trade offs to meet targeted user needs. This definition is created by Chris Mundt. Now, what is design thinking? Okay, before knowing about design thinking, let's understand we were in a state of making people want things. Like companies used to create products and they create the advertisements such a way that they're making people want things. But now we evolved to a state like to make things people want. Now the all industries are in a way like they were looking for what kind of products people want. In the previous case, advertisement or marketing plays crucial role. Now it's all about designing digital services and products which are needed by the society. What is design thinking? Design thinking is user-centered approach for problem solving. So in design thinking, even though the name suggests design thinking, but rather than more of thinking, more of doing is which is actually needed. Okay, let's learn the definition of a design thinking. Design thinking is human-centered approach to innovation that draws from designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirement for business success. So this definition is framed by Tim Brown, President and CEO of IDEO. Now in this slide, we are going to understand what are the perfect conditions for innovation. In the image, we can see three different circles. One is human desirability, other one is technical feasibility, the third category is that is business viability. A perfect innovation is a combination or a set of human desirability, technical feasibility and business viability. Just understand, if something is desired by humans and technically feasible, but if it is of no value, no business value, now we are going to understand the perfect condition for innovation. In the picture, we can able to see three different sets. One is human desirability, technical feasibility, and third category is business viability. So, a perfect conditions for any innovation is must be a combination of all the three. For that product or project, the desirability of humans is needed and the project need to be technically feasible, and third category is it should be business viability. So if you see the applications of this design thinking, it's very wide. The design thinking is process is used either for generating new set of machines or creating new websites or mobile applications. It's also used in the field of education, sports, business, whatnot. Design, the concept of design thinking is used in many parts of the industries. The concept of design thinking is used in many different types of industries. And design thinking is mainly for the wicked problems. Let's understand what is wicked means. Wicked means it is ill-defined problems. So that means a problem, the origin of the problem or the clear identification of the problem is not there, and thereby there is no clear solution also. So those kinds of ill-defined problems are perfectly apt for the application of design thinking process. Now let's understand what are the key elements of design thinking. The four main key elements are: one, it is people centered. So that means the main focus is the people who are going to use that project or product. Second one is that is in the process of design thinking there is high requirement for creative ideas. Third category is that is it's more of doing rather than thinking. So it's like more of hands-on experience is needed. The fourth category is iterative. We will follow different steps. If it is failing, again we will do one more iteration, so on until we achieve the final product. The process will be iterative. Let's learn more about these key elements. So as I told you, the design thinking process should be people centered. So you start from what people thinks, or users, the customers, consumers or the clients, what they need or what they want to do. Their motivations and their problems are very key for this design thinking process. We will talk about empathy. Design thinking is the process of people centric and it's based on empathy. The second key element is highly creative. So the design thinking look for different types of solutions, wide variety of new solutions. They must be creative. And design thinking is all about more of doing or experiencing, more of hands-on experience rather than simply keeping our thoughts on a piece of paper or on the computer. Hands-on experience makes things tangible such that we can able to feel those kind of products, and finally we can able to verify, we can test them, or we can redefine the problems. And the fourth key element of design thinking is that is iterative. So in a single go we cannot really achieve a perfect project or perfect product. So the design thinking supports you to iterate the process again and again until you achieve the final or successful product. So there are four key points to remember in design thinking. One is design thinking is user-centered approach. Second, design thinking mainly helpful for wicked problems or ill-defined problems. The third key element is design thinking is step-by-step process that is repeated over multiple iterations. And the last one is design thinking is less about thinking and more about doing. From the picture we can able to understand at the start of the process it's very confusing, and in any design process we don't know where exactly we are going, where we are leading, but this is how design feels. In the start it will be very complex and clumsy without any proper direction. Slowly once we move on to different steps, once we get to a stage of prototype we will get a some more clear idea, and after testing then we can able to see a clear direction for the problem where what we are addressing. Now we will start to learn more about design thinking process, and more important one is the steps in a design thinking process. That is a key of design thinking. As we already discussed, there are 5 steps of design thinking. First one is empathize. Next, define. Third category is ideate. Fourth, prototype. And final one is testing. We will learn more about the steps of design thinking. Briefly understand these steps. Empathy. Empathy is all about discovery or understanding the end user or the customer. Next is defining. Defining is all about specifications or interpretation of what exactly is the problem. Third one is ideation, creating new different ideas or solutions. Fourth is that is prototyping, that is experimentation, creating a model and testing it. The last one is testing phase, that is nothing but testing and evaluation whether this product is working or not. So this is a brief understanding about different steps of design thinking. Let's understand these steps much deeper. Now we are talking about the first step, that is empathize. Empathize simply means understanding the feelings, needs and pain points of the people who we are working for, or the people who are the final end users or the clients or customers. Empathize is a process of collecting both qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative in the sense their feelings, their emotions, their pain point, whereas quantitative data is all about particular to the problem. It's more of a quantitative data, how repeatedly they are facing this problem or what is the kind of intensity of the problem. So in a more quantitative approach. So empathize process definitely need both qualitative data and quantitative data. They are equally important. People, or while understanding the problem, we must drop our assumptions, judgment and biases. Any engineer who has a bias cannot able to create the exact or final product. So thereby we must drop assumptions, judgments and biases. So there are three techniques are used in the process of empathizing, that is observation, immersion, engagement. So observation means remotely watching or watching the problem in life. It's more about observing with our own eyes or listening to the problem. Second one is immersion. So we should make ourselves into the problem. We should step into the shoes of the person who is facing the problem and we are experiencing ourselves. That is called immersion. The third technique is engagement with people who have experienced that problem or who are facing that problem. Engagement involves interviewing the people or people for which we are developing the projects, or taking a live conversation or taking a survey, etc. So these three different techniques based on the type of problem, we need to use any one of the technique or all of the techniques. Next, we are going to talk about methods for collecting data. I just now told you that empathizing is a process of collecting both qualitative and quantitative data. Thereby, so different methods can be used. One thing, simply researching from the internet, from the journals, reading lot many journals or different websites, understanding the problems by ourselves. That is process of research. Next, interviewing. It's all about interacting directly with the person, asking different set of questions related to the problem, such a way that to collect the data. Or it involves surveying a wide set of people, giving different types of forms and how they are feeling about that particular problem. It also involves shadowing. Shadowing is nothing but remotely observe the kind of problem or the kind of product, how they are using, or by watching documentaries about the problem, or reading the journals about the problem, or by simply observing the body language. So these are different methods for collecting data. Now we are going to learn about the next important step, that is define. Define means problem identification. So this is the next step which comes after empathizing. So in empathizing, we collect different types of data. We need to make it a pattern wise. We need to segregate data or we should synthesize the data. So define, it's all about pinpointing the problem or problem identification. There is one catch here. Lot of people wrongly assume they know the problem, what the problem is. They will quickly jump on to creating a solution for it, which is wrong. So first, the problem definition is very important. Once the problem statement is completely concluded or finally stated, then only we should start with the next process. So we need to make time and space to understand what the actual problem is. Then only we should move to the next steps. Again, there are different methods for defining the problem. One is data analysis. That means analyzing the data received from the previous step, that is empathizing. Next, so after data analysis, we need to use the step, other method called use why. Why we are creating this project, how this process can help people. Or next we need to create personas. Next step is creating personas. In the process, we need to redefine the problem statement as many times, because after, let's say, after prototyping, we will get to different conclusion. Thereby again we may need to redefine the statement. So we should not see these steps as fixed steps. It's always possible that after some particular, let's say, prototype, again we may need to go to the empathize process or in any other cycle. Next one is we need to create multiple problem statements, not one single statement. We need to improvise the different problem statements. The third step in the process of design thinking is, that is ideate. Ideate nothing but creating new ideas or new solutions. Now we need to understand, we need to create as many number of ideas as possible. We should give preference to quantity at first rather than quality. Quantity is nothing but creating as many solutions as possible. At that time, we should suspend the judgment. The third step of design thinking process, that is ideate. Ideate nothing but creating new set of ideas or new set of solutions, as many as possible. So ideate process is all about generating quantity, different types of ideas, that is creating more quantity of ideas and more diverse ideas. So both are important. Quantity is also important and diversity is also important. So there are 3 points we need to remember while generating ideas. That is, first one is quantity is more important rather than quality. Quantity is nothing but creating as many number of ideas as possible. Quality is nothing but creating a qualitative idea. So at the starting of this stage of ideation, quantity is always important. You don't need to worry whether these ideas will all work or not. Don't need to really worry about whether these ideas will work. It's all about creating as many different or diverse solutions as possible. The second important point is, that is suspending judgment. You should suspend your own judgment while creating different types of solutions. At the same time, you need to suspend the judgment on others' ideas as well. Otherwise, if we keep on judging different ideas, we cannot able to create new ideas. So thereby, we should suspend our judgment while creating different types of ideas. The third point to be noted is, every voice should be heard or at the table. So that means, let's say a team consists of 10 members. Of course, there are some introverts will be there in the team. It's very important to know the ideas created by every team member. Sometimes if needed, there should be different kinds of workshops to be conducted or different events to be conducted, such a way that we can get the ideas from each one of the team member. Getting diverse ideas is very key important factor. The last important point is, that is prefer novelty over relevance. Novelty is nothing but creating a something new idea which is not much existed before, or creating altogether a original idea rather than copying some other idea. So these novel ideas are very important rather than relevant ideas. Of course, every person in the industry can able to create a relevant ideas related to the project. But altogether creating a new quite natural or original idea is something very important, or most commonly it's a difficult process also. You may thinking what is a novel idea? Just think about when Wright brothers created this aeroplane. It's all together it's a novel idea. That means no aeroplane is existed before to say like it's altogether a new original idea. And till that point of time nobody would have thought we can fly and we can able to travel long distances within short span of time or with short duration of time. Now we are going to learn about different methods or ways to ideate. There are different methods like creating mind maps or sketches, skits, storyboards and charts. So these are different ways for ideation process. Now we are going to discuss about the fourth step of design thinking, that is prototype. It is the state where we make some form of what we are making or showing to the users, or simply it's like a creating a model what we are going to generate at the last. It's more like a sample piece. So this we will make it, we will test it, at the same time we will actually show it to the final users or clients, customers, or the people whom we are creating this product for. What are the kind of opportunities a prototype will create? There are three opportunities. The first one is explore, next inspire, third one is converse. Explore is nothing but this creation of prototype gives an opportunity to explore the problem what we are working for. So by seeing the prototype we can able to redefine our problem, or we can able to think about technical feasibility, or by it's a sample piece we can correlate quite easily, or we can able to imagine what the actual problem is. The second thing is inspiring. By showing some form of prototype to the end users, so they can really see what can be possible or what is not possible. It's more likely it's give a hope or give a confidence with the end users or with the people we are going to design this project for. The third important factor, that is converse. It's not always to give confidence to the customer. Sometimes by simply showing the prototype we can actually get more data. The third key element is converse. So it's not always a prototype will inspire the customers. Sometimes by simply showing the prototype we can really have a conversation over the problem we are working for. By showing some kind of sample mode we can able to get exact experience of the end user. Thereby we can again redefine our problem, or we can in the process we will collect the data, that is empathizing is also happening, or we can change different types of ideas as well. So prototyping is very key for that. There are three important points we need to remember in the state of prototyping. First one is failure. Failure is inevitable. So design thinking process promotes you the kind of failures or more number of iterations. So in a single stage or in a single iteration we cannot really get into the final quality product. So it's part of the process. These prototypes will fail. So that is the reason we make wide varieties of different types of prototypes with changing different parameters. And once we fail, again we come up with different idea, we make different prototypes and so on. And the second one is iteration. Once it is failed, we need to iterate the process again and again until we finally achieve the intended product. And the last important point is revisiting the phase. As I told you, for example, once we create a prototype, once having a detailed interaction with the customer, then we will get to know that okay, this is not what they're intended to, or this is not what they're expecting. Then automatically we will go to the first phase of empathizing again. Or if we feel that the idea itself is not working, then we will go to the stage of ideate. We create a new different idea to create a prototype. So the three key points is failure is inevitable in the process. Next, as many iterations as possible we need to undergo. Third one is, in the process we need to revisit each phase again and again. Now we will discuss about various forms of prototypes. That is paper prototypes, nothing but simply sketching it or keeping it on. We will discuss various forms of prototypes. Major one is paper prototype, like sketching on the paper or creating models on the papers. Next, creating animations or creating comprehensives, either creating low fidelity models or high fidelity models, and creating wireframe models, and finally walkthrough of this final project. So different models are used for different types of projects. In the starting slides, we have discussed that design thinking process is not just limited to creating a software or creating a machine. This procedure or process is used across different industries, or it can be a movie industry or sports, creating a sports goods, or even for publishing a book, many other different categories. So different forms of prototypes are needed for different types of products. Now we are going to discuss about the final step of design thinking process, that is testing. Testing is, it's after prototyping mostly, because once the prototype is more like acceptable to the designer and the end user, so then it will get into the testing phase. Otherwise uh, we may need to go to other steps. Again, we need to remember three key points. First one is, some things are never finished. Just take the example of a website, or even more precisely, just take the example of a website of a Amazon, let's say. So how many times this website will be modified? Yeah, most likely very frequently the design of the website might be changing, or the data inside which the website will be changing. So website is something which is never finished. We keep on adding new features, or we keep on updating. Similarly, same with a software. Even for a operating software, let's say Windows, we have so many different types of upgrades for this Windows. So mostly in the sector of software or digital world, so these problems are like some things which are never finished. They need continuous upgradation. Or there are some other things which are finished. If you talk about movie as a project, so then definitely the movie going to end, the project of particular movie will end, or creation of a particular kind of machine, yeah, after submitting to the final customer, the project will end. So there are many different projects which have a finished line. In both these cases, whether it is never finished or whether it is finished, after testing, we need to reflect on these ideas and we need to keep learning. That is a key point here. So we need to understand there are 3 points. Some projects which are never finished. There are other projects which have a clear finished line. In both these cases, after testing phase, we need to reflect on the learnings and those learnings need to be implemented for future projects. So that is the reason testing is very key factor. And testing is never the last step of design thinking process. As I told you, design thinking process itself is iterative. So testing can be the starting step for something. So after testing, if we found that okay, some projects are not working, or after testing we came to conclusion that okay, we need to change the problem statement itself. So then testing is the starting step for that. Now let's look into different ways or methods of testing. Again, based on the type of project, these methods will vary. In the project's life, screening, like simply displaying the final product. Screening will be mainly used for different types of movies, or launching is mainly for different types of website launches, or publishing in the case of books, or printing in the case of brochures. Debugging, we do debugging in the case of softwares. We will ship this project for final testing in the case of mechanical products. Or promotion is needed for many different types of products. Then we need to promote and we need to get the feedback. Or releasing, mainly in the case of softwares. So these are different ways or methods of testing. Okay, let's understand this slide once more. Failures are inevitable. In design thinking process, initial stages, we cannot move in a right direction. We move in wrong direction, we fail. Again we will start our journey by taking the learnings from the previous failure. Again we move in some other direction, we may fail again. So by taking those learnings, we keep on changing our direction such a way that at the end we will move in a right direction to create a successful project. So in the process of design thinking, students learn by making mistakes and reflecting on these mistakes and trying again and again. Now we are going to discuss about the last slide of this lecture. So that is developing design expertise. In the image you can able to see novice means the beginner and there is an expert. So how to become a novice design engineer to an expert design engineer? In the image you can able to see, in the bottom image you can able to observe the traditional education, and now we are going to discuss about the last slide, that is novice to expert. Novice nothing but the beginner, the amateur. So how to become a novice design engineer to the expert design engineer? If you clearly observe the bottom image, we have traditional education which teaches you about the technical aspects, how to design, how the complexity. It's a traditional education which teaches. On the other hand, you need to interact with people and experience their problems, the human desires. So by combining these two, we can become a expert design engineer. So let me rephrase the sentence. If you have only traditional education without any involvement with the people whom we are working, we cannot be an expert engineer. Neither if you have a complete relation with the people and you clearly able to understand the problem, but you lack in basic design education or the traditional education, then also you cannot become an expert. You will become, or any engineer who can become an expert only with the combination of these two, both the traditional education and the involvement or interaction with the end users. So then we can become a expert engineers, or design, we can able to bring design expertise in the developing projects. So thank you everyone. So in today's class we learn about design thinking and various steps of design thinking. In the coming lecture we will see about different case studies of design thinking. So thank you all.